Born and raised here in Tucson, back when it was, in fact, the Wild Wild West. Nebraska is not the Wild Wild West. Tucson is the Wild Wild West. And my dad, big influence in my life, from Florida, which is also not the Wild Wild West, but philosophically pretty identical as far as I could tell. And my dad had rifles and guns, and he didn't hunt. He didn't have that sort of generally masculine gene that says you should, like, you know, shoot the shit out of anything that moves. But what he did have was the creativity gene. And my father thought so far out of the box that he was like into non-cuboidal forms. He was into dodecahedral Euclidean solids and superstrings and stuff. He was really creative, which meant that when Dad put on his handyman hat, my brothers and I would usually try and call some friends and spend the night somewhere else because it would get interesting quick. For instance, I came home one afternoon from school, and this is not about guns, but I think you'll see the sort of the tie-in. And came home and walked in the kitchen, and my mom's standing off to the side doing this. And my dad is laying on the kitchen floor in a puddle of water and pipes and wrenches and things. And so I look at my mom and it's like, well, what happened? What's going on? And she does this. She goes. So there's a lot of foul language and stuff sort of being quietly muttered over there in the corner. Well, come to find out that Dad had been wearing his patented, or his plumber's hat, metaphoric plumber's hat, and practicing his patented drain unclogging technique. And that involved sticking a dynamite cap down the drain and setting it off. And of course it worked like a charm. 4 out of 5 times, boom, boosh, you know, there goes the plug. It's great. The 5th time, not so good because it blew the pipes through the kitchen wall. So, I mean, you can sort of see, you know, where this is all going. My dad and mom bought a new forced air heater, and we were real excited because, you know, it was going to be great. We'd be warm in the winter, but Dad had to install it, and so to install it, he had to put some wires up through the roof and down around the wall and whatever to, you know, hook it up to the junction box. So, you know, I mean, most dads, being in a handyman thing, would like go get their drill. They'd go get like really long power cords, maybe 2, and they'd go, you know, like get a real long drill and climb up and down on the roof and, you know, try to match the holes up. And my dad got his deer rifle. Blew a hole through the ceiling and out the roof. Perfect round hole, beautiful round hole. You could see daylight. So yeah, but basically those were sort of Dad's main handyman tools, with dynamite and deer rifles. One afternoon I came home from school. It wasn't all my dad. I came home from school again, same house, and I walked in and took off my clothes and was going to hang them in the closet, and I looked at my closet door and there's a hole through my closet door. It's like a pretty big hole. So I bend over and I like line it up and look through this hole, and it goes all the way to my brother's bedroom. So I walk around and into the bedroom and I look the other way. Yep, there's a hole all the way through the house. And including my closet door and a hairdryer on the other side of the room, and the washing machine motor, which it blew up and it like didn't do any good at all. Turns out my brother was home by himself, 12 years old, and he, you know, my mom was at the grocery store or something. She was usually home. He was practicing rifleman, right? Kablam! It goes off. Shoots a hole all the way through the house. Well, that was interesting. I mean, most parents would kind of make sure that if they had loaded guns around, they wouldn't have them around their 3 children, impressionable children. Not only did my dad have it around the children, he had it hanging over my brother's bed. An 8-year-old and a 12-year-old with a loaded deer rifle over the bed. Okay. So, anyway, yeah, that was interesting. Again, it wasn't all that brother or my dad. My other brother, he and his wife live here in town, and they have a magnificent house, but it's on the edge of a kind of crappy neighborhood. So they've had, a lot of gunshots and a lot of stuff going on all the time in that neighborhood. And so my sister-in-law wanted to put her Glock 9mm somewhere she could get to it quickly, but still not be accessible to the kids, right? So she comes up with the really, really good idea of putting it under the stove lid on a griddle. Because it would be hidden and she never used the griddle. You know where this is going, right? Gives the term cook-off a whole new meaning. The boys, my brother, they're in the living room, they're watching TV. Gina's like whipping up a chicken casserole and turns on the oven. Except it was the griddle. So they're all like relaxing, and all of a sudden, kablam, blam, blam, 3 rounds shoot through the kitchen into the living room. Everybody hits the deck, and at first they don't know if it's shooting from outside, or somebody shooting at them, or are they in fact shooting at other people going by, which that turned out to be the case. But now the funny part is that the griddle's still on, and there's 6 more rounds. And neither of them really wanted to go into the kitchen and turn off the stove. So my sister-in-law runs to the neighbors, and she makes an emergency phone call, of course, finally, sensibly, but not to the police. No, to the gas company. Come and turn off our gas really quick. So, anyway. Yeah, the last story is about my dad again, and this is my favorite story. Daddy was home out in Sarita, and he had 5 55-gallon drums of water that he wanted to get rid of the drums and drain the water. So, he got his drill and a really long power, oh no, that's your dad, right? Oh, that was, no, not my dad. My dad got, yes, his deer rifle, and he stands back and he shoots the first barrel, works great. Water was all over the place. He shoots the second barrel, goes great, just perfect, blam, blam, blam. Shoots these things full of holes. The 5th and final barrel, he shoots it. The bullet hits the barrel, ricochets off, and hits him in the neck. So now he's standing there going, shit. And he's bleeding like a gunshot wound to the neck, you would expect. So instead of running for the house and the phone or, calling 911, he goes to the clothesline, gets a towel and wraps it around his neck, right? Stop the bleeding. That's not sensible, okay. But it bleeds through, and now he gets another towel, but what's he gonna do with this one soaking with blood? He doesn't want to go in the house with this towel. My mother might get upset. So he does what any sensible person with a bleeding gunshot wound to the neck would do, and he throws the towel on the roof. So my mom won't get upset. She'll never notice that gaping, bleeding hole. So by now he's probably getting a little lightheaded and decides he better actually upset my mother. So they roar off to the doctor and they stitch it up and they don't take the bullet out because it is literally wedged. It's lodged between the jugular vein and the carotid artery, and it's too dangerous to remove. Well, my dad died, but not from a gunshot wound. Natural causes. Quite a long time later. And we had him cremated, and no, it wasn't alive. It wasn't alive anymore. But what we did do was we transported an ammunition or a bullet into Mexico. So somewhere at the bottom of the bay there in San Carlos is a pile of Daddy's bones and a rifle bullet. Thank you.